Hi everybody. I wanted to take a minute to show you my version of how I create a presentation in Photoshop for competition images. So here I have a photo that clearly is not to scale for what we need, right? Let's see. Yeah, see, it's too big if we're talking about state competition of being 4,000 pixels on the longest edge. But what I do to combat that is that I have a template that I created. So I'll go into File, New, and here I've got 4,000 by 4,000 pixels. You don't have to use a template. You can just create one. I always use a square because if I just fit it anywhere within that square, I know at least one side will always be 4,000 pixels, right? And, 300 pixels per inch, 16-bit is usually what I work in. And so this just creates the frame for what we're using. So now that I have this, I'm going to come over. I'm going to take a copy of this image, the final image that I have. I'm going to paste it. Well, it must be an 8-bit image that I'm working with. I'm putting it on a 16-bit layer, but doesn't really matter. So here we go. I've got the image pasted on here on my frame. So what I do is I go into View, Show, Grid, and this will give me an idea of where I can get my frame sides all to be the same width, right? Because you don't want your presentation to be too long on one side, too short on the other. It causes the brain to kind of not process it very well. It'll know something's off, even if it's a little bit. So using your grid in Photoshop actually helps with that. So now on my image layer, I'm going to Command T to transform, and I am just going to fit it down into kind of what I would like the frame to be. Now, I don't try to make it centered when I'm just putting it on here to get an idea. I use my grid to line things up. So let's say I wanted 4 boxes, right, on either side to be my frame. You can either make it smaller, right, because the edge is where you're looking at where your frame is going to be, or you can make it bigger, whatever fits your mood of how you want your presentation to be. So let's go with 4 boxes. So then I'm going to come over here on this side, now that I've done that, and I just made it 4 on the left, the top and the left. So now I'm going to crop my image, and I'm on width, height, resolution because I don't want it to auto size. And then I'm just going to bring it. So I've got 4 on this side. See where the grid helps. You don't have to guess. And 4 on this side. So now I know that it's equal all the way around. You can also Command T again and just grab it and make sure it's centered, right? So now that I've had this, I'm going to go in on the base layer, and I'm going to choose down here to put in a solid color layer. Solid color, and then the color picker already comes up, so I can go in and pick whatever color from something within in the image. Always pick your colors from within the image because you want them to work together and not fight against each other. A frame should be able to, or presentation should frame your image so that it makes it a pleasing look, but not distract you away from your image entirely. So let's go with this. I like this. Okay. Now, what I can do, now that I've got that, you'll hear people talk about stroke lines. It's really just a border on your image, or you can get more fancy and create multiple of them within this presentation. But just for this sake, I'm going to go here and I'm just going to put a stroke line around just the image. And usually they always say that the most simple presentation is usually the best because you don't want it to be distracting. So I'm going to go back to view, show, and take the grid off because I don't need it anymore. So I can now see my image. And I've clicked on my layer with my image, and I'm going to go into edit and stroke. If stroke is not highlighted, that means you probably need to rasterize your image layer because you can't add a stroke onto a layer that is, God, what is the word? Smart object. Thank you. Could not remember that. All right, so we're going to stroke and choosing your pixel size. I personally never go above like 3 pixels for stroke line because you don't want it to be distracting. Picking your colors, pick something from within your frame, right? Now I'm going to show you here. I picked this. It's kind of light. And I want you to see what it looks like when we go too light. You don't want a bright stroke line, just like you don't want a bright presentation. Nothing should be too distracting. Actually, it's not too bad. Your stroke line shouldn't pull your eye away, right? It shouldn't be bright. It is kind of a little bit too bright when you look down here because it's going to draw your eye away from your main subject. So I can easily undo that stroke line, go back into edit, stroke, back into the color, and kind of drag this down a little bit to make it a little bit darker. I want it to be super subtle, a little bit different in the shade. So that to me is much better. It's not as distracting. So that's how to do a very simple presentation. Okay. I usually like to save this as a PSD because I always go back and then find something wrong with my image, re-edit. If you save this as a separate PSD from your image that you're editing, then you can always just take your updated version like here and then make a copy, overwrite what you've already set up for your presentation and put it into this frame again. So the last thing you want to do is, now that you've got the whole presentation done, you want to go into image, size. Now, you don't have to have it at 4,000, but it cannot be more than that. So I could have left it at 3,900, or you can make it at 4,000 to be exactly to the maximum limit. Totally up to you on how you want to do it. And then save that, and then you're good to go. So I hope this helps.